Check, 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 1, 2, check. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, the Coffee and Biscotti Show. I'm your host, Crew Mel Bellissimo. Today is Friday, February 11th, 12 o'clock EST. I hope that wherever you are on this great ball floating across the universe, you are doing well. An interesting time to live. Lots happening, lots of energy. I mean, last week we were complaining that Mercury was in retrograde. What's it this week? I have no idea. But there's something going on, let me tell you. It's nice to be here with all of you. I certainly have a great show for you. The first one of its kind here on the Coffee and Biscotti Show. But I have, I've had a week, my friends. Some reality came down for me in terms of sort of the ending of my relationship. And, I'm in a city where, of course, we're in the nation's capital here in Ottawa, Canada. And now there's protesters against the protesters. So there's all sorts of things happening in the world, lots of divide. And I say this every week. I'm not a political guy. I just never really got into, although my Italian mother would have said, you talk a lot. You should be a politician. And I'm afraid that politics wasn't in the cards for me. Does that mean that the convoy is in retrograde? Well, Mr. Josh, could very well be. Could very well be. Always a pleasure to have our beloved Josh Leslie here on the show with us. Josh, as always, thank you so much for dedicating 90 minutes of your very busy schedule to be here with all of us. Today's show is brought to you by Team Wolfpack. Of course it is. Team Wolfpack, a heart-centered group of business leaders in the Ottawa area and surrounding area that really have seen some success, but really understand the value of giving back. And the Team Wolfpack is still going strong. Tuesday, Thursday, 6:30 a.m., we are up doing some Muay Thai training. And Sundays, we are in the process of finding a new space so that we can do our in real life training. I put out a video this week about being middle-aged and how there's something interesting about at this age that happens. And it's really a great segue into introducing our guests with an S today. Partly because my post this week on social media was about men spend 25, 30, 35 years engulfed in their careers, taking care of their families. And what happens is they're so focused at that I believe they lose a part of themselves. Many people have talked about mothers who take on the role of wearing this hat of being a mother, lose themselves as they, grow up children. Well, I kind of feel the same for men. And my story was about the fact that one of the members said to me, Crew Mel, I really, really enjoy what you're doing with this, because the people that I interact with on a daily basis are either family or associates, and because I'm in a high position, that want to be around me because of my position, or stick out their hand or want to get close to me because their hand is out because I could offer them something. And he said that the beauty about this Team Wolfpack is that we were going to create a community where you can just be yourself. A community where you can get together with like-minded people, people who want to be challenged, people who want to grow, people who want to evolve in body, mind, and spirit. And that was really great. And that was my post this week. And it's a perfect segue into today's show, because I have 3 guests today. And I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start. There's three of them, so this has posed a bit of an interesting thought process for me, because I thought, should I come and do an introduction where I introduce all of them? And my heart tells me that I want to leave the introductions to them, and that my role here is to create a space. But what I love about these three gentlemen that are going to be on our show today is that here they are. Some maybe all retired, and they've gotten together. They've gotten together, which is amazing in itself. But they've come together, and they have this desire to leave a bit of a legacy behind. A legacy that people will look back on and say, these three gentlemen, these three souls came together, created this energy, and then helped people with companies in terms of communications and branding, but an overall place where people could grow. And these three men watch as they all use their own God-given talents in their own particular way to help with the people that are sitting in front of them. What's nice about it is that these guys are super funny, super great men. I've always been really connected to men that were older than me. I have a brother who's 12 and a half years older, and I have a brother who's 18 and a half years older than me. And so I connect with these men. These are the kind of guys that I could go to Del Piacere Pizza on Preston Street. Shout out to Pietro, by the way. And I could sit down with these guys and have a really fabulous meal with, because they're that much fun. There is something about the number of revolutions you do around the sun that provides something called wisdom. And my friends, these three are nothing short of having wisdom. That whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this on the replay, I can guarantee you today, you're going to hear their voices, you're going to feel their energy, and you're going to get something from them. And that's what I want. I started by talking about the protesters and the protesters against the protesters. And here's the point. I just want to be a part of the solution. And for me, part of that solution means bringing on three men who have had their own battles and journeys in their life, their own trials and tribulations, and yet have come together to make something special. In the book Neale Donald Walsch, Conversations with God, they talk about Neale Donald Walsch, and the representation of God talks about love. So he explains it in terms of Tom and Mary energy. Tom walks into a room and spots Mary, and their auras touch from halfway across the room. And then all of a sudden, as they move closer, it's no longer Tom and Mary energy, but they come together and they create something called Tom-Mary energy. And today, we have the trifecta of energy. Three men who have come together, who want to do nothing more but help all those that come into their path. I'm humbled by these three men. They run a pub night every Thursday at 4 p.m. and had the pleasure of joining them. Aside from the fact that they're super organized, they just have this incredible ability to welcome the people that are there. And in the world we're living in today, we need more welcoming because more people are separating. And so this is humbling for me because I'm in the right room. And you know why? Because I'm not the smartest guy in the room. And that's what somebody said to me once. You want to grow? You want to evolve? Get uncomfortable and go to a room where you're not the smartest person. And you will learn. So, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world, please get off of your comfortable seat and put your hands together for Rick, Rod, and Bron. And the crowd goes wild.
Yay!
Hello, gentlemen.
Hey.
Good afternoon.
What an absolute pleasure to have you guys. Has anybody called you like Larry, Curly, and Moe by any chance? Or
No, Bob, they haven't.
They could, though.
they could though. Well, first of all, gentlemen, I think I said it in my intro. What an absolute honor for you guys to take 90 minutes out of your day to be with me and my audience. I know that you guys are going to say something that and that is going to reverberate in someone's ears and touch someone's heart. You guys are fabulous men. I love hanging around you guys. I think you guys are awesome, and I'm super grateful that you guys are here with me today.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Great to
Ron.
be here, man. Great to be here. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Yeah,
Great.
please. I mean, I'd love to hear from all of you. Of course, what we're going to do, guys, is, I don't work very hard in terms of planning what I'm going to say or what I'm going to ask. I don't want it to be very structured. I want a flow. And so I want this to be a flow. Normally, at every show, we take some time at the beginning of the show to talk a little bit about and to paint a picture for the audience, those watching, about who these three incredible men that are on the Coffee and Biscotti show, who they are. So, Rod, I'd love for you to start if you could, and gentlemen, you can always come in or add something. But Rod, tell us a little bit about who this amazing guy is.
Well, I appreciate the amazing kind of terminology. I'm not too sure about that, so thank you. We know you were just talking a little bit about who the most handsome in the group is, and it's not me, so that's all right. I don't have to be.
Bron's the winner?
Yeah, Bron's the winner for sure. Absolute. Or at least that's what all the women say when we walk in a room. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ron, look at that.
Well, it's not just a say, it's the look, it's the look.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, so I'm Rod overall. I'm professionally a graphic designer. Grew up in Ottawa in a family of 4 children, 2 brothers, sister, pain in the ass sister. I hope she's watching. And
Tell us how you feel.
And to supposed parents, but my parents were, what do I say? For the most part, a little bit out of sorts. My father was an alcoholic. My mother was close behind. And they raised us, but hey, not what I would say with a lot of from my perspective. My sister and my brothers probably say something different, but with a little less structure. Let's put it that way. It was a pretty wild kind of childhood. So. Which, as a child was wonderful, but at the same time, very struggling. I thought I was, as a kid, I thought I was one of the dumb kids in school. And that's probably true. in many ways. But what I found out later on in life, when I was around 40 years old, doing some soul searching and being part of the United Church of Canada, went to a conference and found out that the man in front speaking at the podium was dyslexic. And the more we talked and I heard him, I started realizing, holy jeez, that sounds an awful lot like me. And so I started to realize, maybe I'll look into this a bit more. And I found out that I'm dyslexic. And I couldn't read until I was about 16 years old at a level that, was maybe grade 3 or 4. And so I got through life as a child by I don't know how, but it certainly wasn't based on the concept of learning in the education systems that are out there. So, my biggest fear as a child was a spelling bee. Be in front of a class, standing over the side and know my name's going to be picked. And I knew it doesn't matter how small the word was, I wasn't going to get that right. In those days, I'm 69. So in those days, they used to have a chart at the back with all everybody's name and stars beside it. Well, mine had a very few stars. So I struggled quite a bit, but you know what? I was a pretty good artist. I drew pretty good. I drew all sorts of stuff and spent a lot of time drawing airplanes and all sorts of things, that you just love to do. So I did that. And next thing I know, I struggled through and find that my parents supported me in going to an art school. And I went there and learned that I loved this concept of design and art and stuff. And so I became pretty good at it, and next thing I knew, I was able to create a career based on my skills in regards to communications and design. And it was, I did fairly well. I grew a business, probably about the third largest agency in Ottawa for design and advertising. Had a lot of success, did a lot of work with Bell Northern Research and Northern Telecom, a lot of the telco industry. Did a lot of international kind of work. And we had a lot of fun and it was very successful. Probably had about 13 employees.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Look at you.
yeah, it was good. But then all of a sudden, when I was 40 years old, I hit a wall. And that wall had to do with finding out about I was struggling because my father had abused me sexually as a child. And I had dealt with it pretty well all the way up to that. And then all of a sudden he came to stay with us. And the next thing I know, he came really close to my face. And I got this flashback that it didn't leave me. I just constantly was there, just always in the background, never leaving me. And I just got into a deep kind of depression and hole. And I could function day to day, going to work and doing all the things I had to do. But when I came home, I would, just zone out, and I wouldn't be there. So my sweet wife said, something's got to change. This isn't working. So I did that. I went and got some counseling. I worked hard at it. I went through 9 years of therapy, came out the other end, and ended up whole. And that to me is my greatest success. One of my greatest successes, just going through the dynamics of that type of challenge that was presented to me in a form that I had no idea I wanted to deal with. And so, yeah, so that's kind of, and then over the last while, I just sort of slowed down and started to run into some issues in regards to business and stuff. And that's where I started to. I asked Bron Vasic to help me kind of redirect the where I was going in regards to my business, because it was a lot of weight carrying some people all around, and doing that for 40 some years, making paycheck every 2 weeks. It just became very burdensome. So he helped me go through a process of redirecting my thinking of what I wanted in life and channeling it so that I got through and out without with it was uneasy, but in a new direction for myself. So I was happier, I was healthier, I had more energy doing more creative work, and get to a better place. And then all of a sudden, I found myself 65, then retiring, and now here I am. So, anyways, I just rambled on as I usually do, and so that's who I am. And now I join these two guys in a place called the True North Navigators, because it's all about helping others find success, find solutions for success, so they can reach their full potential. And it's been a passion of mine in regards to graphic design and communications forever. And now we're doing it in a larger kind of perspective with these two guys. So
Amazing.
The 3 legs to the stool.
yes, exact, Ron.
Well, what a thank you, Rod, for that touching story. This is my virtual hug. I'm really grateful that you shared that, because it seems, Rod, that there's a lot of people struggling, and you being open and sharing that story is really going to have a ripple effect, and I'm grateful that you shared it. I would have never have known you. You certainly come across as a man who's got it all together. You got it going on, man. You're an eloquent speaker for now a guy who was at 40 found out he was dyslexic, and I mean, just you're clearly doing amazing things, and I'm grateful that I get to call you a friend as well. So thank you for sharing, Rod.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mel.
But I think he cut it short a little bit.
Oh,
So,
no,
absolutely.
no.
Let's do it, Rick. Let's do it.
Like, for somebody who's supposed to be in brand communication, that was the lamest presentation of the Rod Overall brand that I've ever heard of. So don't you agree, Bron? Like this guy, I do. Like this guy.
All the superlatives that go with all the graphics and everything. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Like the most notable thing about Rod for me.
Yeah.
Right. And you're getting a bit of a flavor of it here. But what you experience live, and you get a semblance of it over Zoom, but what you experience live is this man has the most massive heart.
Yes.
And
he does.
Right. And I get teary-eyed saying,
yeah,
I feel it. I even feel it over Zoom. Right. I feel it live with the man. Right. When he went through, many people have gone through that profiling exercise called Strength Finder, where you determine your greatest asset. There's lots of those tools out there. But Strength Finder helps you identify your kind of lead. Rod is a maximizer. He's always trying to do the most with his heart and his pretty massive brain too, with his heart to help people find their full potential, find those solutions. That's what our vision is, but that's what Rod is at his essence. That's his brand. Yeah. And eventually he'll learn to own it with that much intensity, because he shows up with it. He's subtle, he's understated. That's what he just presented to you here. But in live connection with the man, that's how I experience him.
Yeah, well, there's a depth there that is substantially deeper. That's right. That it goes beyond its, the depth is about as high as Mount Everest kind of thing.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful for you guys to say, because Josh in the chat Rod was trying to make it extra lean, but the truth is the truth is that I wonder whether or not that's his martial arts training, because I'm very much like Rod. I'm a humble guy. You know, many people would say that after 25 years of being punched in the face and learning how to punch others in the face, I'm pretty good at it. I've learned a couple things about punching somebody in the nose. But, Josh said this, guys, and how really great it was for him to say. So the last episode of the Coffee and Biscotti show in 2021, Josh interviewed me for my own show. And in it, he said one of the most wonderful things, guys, and I think that this will resonate with Rick and Bron about Rod. He said, if you've ever received a hug from Mel, you will feel that his heart has its own gravitational pull. And I think that that's the exact same thing that's what I feel about Rod. And if you get a hug from him, if you're around, as you say, Rick, in his energy, his heart has his own gravitational pull.
Absolutely. And whether it's from martial arts. So I think martial arts is a mechanism. We learn to get punched in the face or our feet taken out from under us. Or not. Yeah, we learn or we don't. Right? We learn we're dyslexic. We discover we've been abused. We have traumas in our life. Every person does. And we have a choice to get off the mat or not. And my experience is that those who get off the mat and learn how to stay on their feet and be taken down again, that's where the humility is discovered. That's where the quiet power of adulthood, I was going to say manhood, but it's adulthood, shows up, right? That it comes in that space of, I've got flaws, I've had challenges, I've had trauma, and I get to choose how I respond as an adult now, today.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, guys, that in the chat, Raging Dio Knight said Rod kind of looks like Anthony Hopkins, with all due respect. So one vote for Rod in the handsome column.
There we go.
Anthony Hopkins.
There we go.
There you go. I love
That's
it.
great. I love that. I love that. I love
then she
Anthony
says, okay,
Hopkins.
but let's be real. Everyone here is really handsome. There you go. See?
Yes.
Right on. Thank you. That's very kind. Bron, let's take some time, my friend. You know, of all the guys, I've spoken to Rick, I've spoken to Rod. I'm really excited to get to know you and for my audience to get to know you, because it seems like your two counterparts here have a great deal of respect for you and really care for you a lot. And I'm excited to know why they care about you so much, because you're clearly a remarkable man. So please paint us a picture, my friend.
Well, thanks a lot, Mel. I've been very privileged to know Rod and Rick and get to know them at a really special level. And as a guy, I would say that, Rick and I connected through business relations way back when. And I do remember when he would come in for a meeting with his wife, there was something, I would feel this wonderful energy after. There was always something very special about the meeting, and I just sensed that, hey, there's a connection there, and we started to get to know one another a little bit better, and at a really emotional level, like a real man-to-man level, and really talked at depth about what it is to be a guy, how it is different to be a guy, and what it takes. What about our sons? Both of our sons are named Jeremy, which is sort of an interesting quirk. I mean, who would have guessed that? But in any event, so we've been able to do life together in a lot of ways, really support one another, went on a wonderful trip to find out, where our fathers were from, sort of historical review, and that was wonderful. So, and then it's just, as Rod mentioned, I got to know him through business as well, and I would say the work that I did with Rod was really right sizing the business, and so there was a whole process. Yeah, I'm a CPA, chartered accountant, all those things, but my heart has always been in consulting. It's always been in the consultative world. I always enjoyed, even when I was articling student, I always enjoyed, getting to know the person. I wanted to understand, hey, well, rather than the numbers, I wanted to understand the people running the business. I wanted to have a relationship with them. So, um, you know, I I come from a very small town in southwestern Ontario called New Hamburg, and my parents were refugees. It was, I was one of the lucky ones to be born in Canada, but I have an unusual name. Bron is just a short form for Branislav. So it's a very strong Serbian name. My father was a Serb, and he was in a refugee camp in southern Italy where he met my mother. So my mother's Italian, and her last name was Catafilio. So I have a huge number of relatives in Italy, a smaller number in Serbia, and there's a special story that goes along with meeting those relations in Serbia, but I won't get into that right at the moment. But that was sort of a God story of wow, I was able to connect with them, like literally a month before Rick and I were going to travel there. And I remember telling Rick, well, we're going to go to this place called Valjevo in Serbia, and I have no idea. Like, we might just be you and I walking around on the street and think, hey, well, my relations would have walked here. But lo and behold, we connected with a cousin, and the rest is sort of history. And it was a very special time to be able to find those roots. So I feel really proud that I was able to, to understand the roots of family and the conditional love that goes with all of that. And that was just truly amazing. And I think that, they both Rod and Rick allow me to live out what I'm passionate about. And I've been fortunate in my life to be able to express my passion for the things I love to do, whether it's playing sports or just doing different things in the community, encouraging people. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I do for the last 25 years. I was fortunate to have an incident in my life where a very traumatic event where a very close friend of mine who was 42 took his own life. And that virtually on that same day, my cousin, who I'd gone to Italy with, had been killed in a car accident. And I remember lying on the back deck, and this whole essence came over me, and it said, "Hey, it was a picture of my neighbor that I call her my second mother. I remember her. She was a Mennonite lady. She was a widow, but she had 3 children. And she was like my second mother. And I just remember the picture of her praying. And I thought, that's what I've got to do. Because I was lost. I was broken. I couldn't believe this news. I couldn't believe this was happening in my life. And I realized all of these things that I had tried to attain in my world, where, hey, let's make more money, let's do this, let's be this, let's do all those things. I realized, wow, that's pretty empty. I got a pretty shallow life here. And ultimately, it was that event that really transformed me into, having a closer relationship with God, and I treasure that today. I treasure the fact that I have that sort of Holy Spirit over me, kind of thing, and walking with me. And it's not easy. It's still very much a struggle on a day-to-day basis, and all of those things. But as you were saying at the beginning, I think that over the last number of years with people, I realize, our purpose here on this earth, as on this brown spot we're at, is to try to create heaven on earth, and we should be doing that every single day in what we do. So hence, Rick, Rod, and I, we want to make a difference. We're retired, we're this, we're that. We don't have as much energy as we had 20 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever, but we want to make a difference. And we think, we're not dead yet, as Rick has said many, many times. So I love that. So, but try to be the best we can be, and try to be respectful of others, try to stay open to learning, try not to be judgmental, as you were pointing out at the beginning, Mel. And I think that's a great posture. I think that we need to look at the posture we have especially as men. I mean, Rick and I have been talking about that particular issue for a long time, decades. And are the men today really, are we really, I get broken by the fact that I work in sort of a Christian ministry kind of thing with an organization called More Than Enough, and I help people with their financial management. So, I mean, yes, I've got a skill set in numbers and I understand financial management. And it's very complex, but I still have an empathy for them, and I want to help them. I want to walk with them. I want to encourage them. And ultimately, that's my part of the stool, is this financial management. Hey, how can I help you see a different perspective? So I want to bring that to the table. But where my disappointment comes in is in all these different relations, when we're trying to help people find hope and freedom in their financial walk and they have this acronym called FACE, Financial Awareness Creates Empowerment. So we want to just make people aware, but my disappointment is in so many of these relationships where the guy or there's been very few that are willing to step up and yes, financial distress is shameful. It's a lot that's another burden. We all have these burdens, but it's unfortunately, I find that the men typically try to, they've got that John Wayne attitude. Well, it's somebody else's fault. It's not this, it's not this. And so they don't look in the mirror. They have a tough time looking in the mirror. So that's sort of my quick story. Yeah.
Rick, Rod, what would you add to that? Because that was great, Bron. I just would love to hear what these guys got to say about you, because like I said before, they clearly have a great deal of respect for you. Rick, Rod, what would you add to sort of Bron's introduction?
Again, the man is just so understated. When I first met him, it was like, wait a second, you're a CA, like you're actually an accountant? Oh, okay, you know these. Oh, you do know the numbers. But what was so amazing about Bron was that he was like this ray of sunshine in the world of accounting and financial management. Wow. Because I'd done a lot of work already. I'd tried to work with other advisors or tax counselors or whatever. Plus I'd consulted to financial and engineering firms. I've seen that. But this man shows up with not only, again, his brain, but this massive heart. So that three-legged stool, like we all have this heart, right? We each have these legs of skill area and capability. And so Bron's is definitely that skill area is in the area of financial management and effective decisions and practical decisions and wading through complexity to create clarity. But it shows up with his heart that is just so amazing. And he alluded to the trip that he and I took to when Bron turned 60, or he was about to turn 60.
Yes,
that's right. He said to me, and I'm sorry I had to step away. There's a service thing going on upstairs, and so I dealt with that. But I don't know if you mentioned this, but we went because Bron said, on my 60th birthday, my request is that you come with me and we go to our fatherlands. And so his father was from Serbia, mine had been from Poland. And so we went to each country and we met our families with each other. And two of my most lasting impressions were me being surrounded by my family in Poland and Bron being right in there too, right, and having tears in his eyes as I was being embraced in my father's family, my family, and we discovered all these wonderful, gentle men. Right, it's just so prevalent in Poland and Serbia. These men of strength, women of strength, but the men who are just so graceful and gentle. Um, and then this other very poignant memory I have of Bron, which was just so so much of him, which was at my second cousin's home in this small town in Czech Republic. Bron talking with a young man, so my second cousin's son, about his turmoil, about his calling in life. And as I sat with the family and we were sitting in small groups, I saw Bron talking with this young man off to the side, and Bron was half on a knee as he was listening to the man, and I just went, I know that young man is getting the biggest heartfelt attention and guidance. And my subsequent messages from him and his mother were, wow, that was game changing for him. So that is Bron. And then the other thing you got to know about Bron. So here's just one more thing, and then I want Rob to jump.
I know what you're going to say.
I know. So the thing you got to know about Bron, because the sports that men play are very telling about their characters. Bron is a hockey goalie. I mean, he stopped playing for a long time now, but he is still, by mentality, a hockey goalie. And they're always a little weird. They're just always a little weird.
You have to be. You have to be.
But not only that, so Bron showed up on the ice the same way he showed up in his CA boardroom as a partner, right? He showed up with his heart. So he's the only hockey player I've ever been on the ice with who hoops and hollers and screams and yells because he's having so much fucking fun. He just exploded. And I've been out cycling with him and cross-country skiing with him. And he does it. His heart is alive and in the moment and energized. And it's just so delightful to be around.
That's it. Got to be a little couple of screws loose to be a hockey goalie.
Yeah,
that's true. If not before, then certainly after.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Bron. Thank you for that.
But don't hear from Rod as well about Bron, because
Rod, do you have a story for us?
Well, other than what Bron did for me in regards to the end of, Mandolin overall was, I guess, after 2008, there was a downturn in regards to how much direct mail was done and stuff. So business started to kind of collapse a little bit. And I was holding a bag full of crap. and I didn't know what to do with it. So I said, Bron, look at the crap I've got I'm left with. What do I do? And he said, yeah, Rod, that's a lot of crap, man. And he said, well, one of the things we're going to do is get you out of this situation. But what you need to do is do this, and this. And he looked at my numbers. He looked at all the stuff that he looked at. I go, how do you see that in what you have in front of you? They're numbers. But he saw a way out, and he said, Rod, you've got a vision. There it is. Go for it. That's what you need to do. Focus on that. You were just talking, Mel, about the power of focus. This is the critical factor.
Your gifting.
And so
really, it was about using. It was ultimately it was about getting the the typical entrepreneurial issue is that he had fallen into that, and we were basically just getting him to wear the right hat. He was trying to wear hats that he wasn't skilled in, and he gave up what he loved to do the other things because he, and that's a classic entrepreneurial error that these entrepreneurs make mistakes by they delegate things they're really good at because they can manage, and then all of a sudden they have they're wearing a hat that doesn't fit them. And ultimately that was where we had to get with Rod. But he was such a good he believed in himself and he believed in me, which was really wonderful because, quite frankly, if you remember, Rod, there were two choices and you took the harder road. He
Yeah.
took the road less traveled, and which was harder for him, his family, his wife, everybody. But thank God we got to the right answer. We got to the right place. And so that was really just a wonderful experience walking through that together. And I think that, that really, when you go through life experiences like that together, it builds a bond, it builds character, it builds, all of those different things.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure does.
Amazing.
Again, thank you, Bron.
Wow. It's good to have everybody needs a Bron in their life, eh?
Oh, true. True.
I say that about Josh Leslie and Poutine Nation. Everybody needs a Josh Leslie
Yes.
in their life, but everybody needs a Bron in their life. Well, thank you, Bron, and thank you everyone for that. Rick, I'd like to move to you because, in the short time that we've sort of connected, you have this wonderful energy that I really resonate with. You talk about everybody else's heart, but I have a feeling that both Bron and Rod are going to jump in after your introduction and say, "Well, Rick, let's talk about Rick's heart for a minute because you certainly to me seem the kind of guy we joked about you having the brains and Bron having the good looks and Rod having the glue and keeping it all together, but Rick, I really want to take this opportunity to say I'm grateful for you and appreciate you and glad that you're here with us today. And I would love an opportunity for you to paint a picture for our friends. I want to give a special shout out before you start. Gentlemen, there's a friend of mine who I've known for 20 plus years. He's probably about your age now. He goes under the handle of Chief Thunder Fist. Coach Rob Peltier, who is spent his life in the world of MMA and boxing, and even rubbed shoulders with the likes of Muhammad Ali, and he's with us today. So, shout out to my man, Chief Thunder Fist 123. But Rick, do what they did, man. Paint us a picture.
Actually, I want to follow on what I heard you saying, Mel, as we were as you were pulling together the threads of what you heard from each of Rod and Bron about needing a Bron in our life or needing a Josh in our life, and I want to expand that and say we need a real man in our life.
Mm-hmm.
When I say that, I mean we need our brothers. And we need our real man, our own real man. And what our brothers do is help us do that.
Just pull it out of us.
Pull it out of us, be there to support it, get in our face when we're not, do it with love, and we're on the mat together. Right? I was reading a little bit and watching a little bit about it's called Muay Thai boxing out of Thailand, and the intense camaraderie, the intense love that happens between the two combatants. It's a battle within the self, and there just happens to be an opponent there. And so I believe for myself and my choice working with these two men is that our challenge in life, maybe especially for men, or uniquely for men, uniquely for men, is how to be a real man today, how to be a man with both heart as well as the conviction and the skills. Right? We were brought up and trained and encouraged to be productive, skillful, whatever it was. We weren't brought up to learn how to leverage our hearts. And so our journeys, I think the three of us have all been around what's our discovery been about who we are in our essence, our core, that's our skill, but that's also our heart and both the heart part of ourselves that are passionate and excited and but also vulnerable and afraid and damaged and that need healing. And that's every man's journey, right? Every person, every woman's journey. That's every person's journey is that. It's that dual pathway we're on. And so in our work together now, Rod and Bron and I very purposefully, we've created this pub space. But the pub space, it's a virtual gathering for interaction, but it sits within the context of what we call True North Navigators. And we very purposefully use this language of navigating, this knowledge that we're all on a journey. We're all on our personal journeys. And the personal journey may be within a business we run, or a business we manage, or a business we're part of, but it's our personal journey. And our belief is that on this personal journey, it's helpful to have supports because it's easy to get lost. It's easy to run aground. It's easy to get in the doldrums. And we don't always have people to turn to help us with the full path improvement, the full path solutions. Yeah, we can get solutions that are, fill this tax return and do it this way and do a spreadsheet like this and get your budget on. And we can set up your website like this and have business cards that look like this. But those are the head parts of running a business, right? It's the heart parts of running a business, the heart parts of running life, of being in relationship with spouses or raising children, right? It's the heart part, which is the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And
so,
Rick, what I would like to know is that, see, this is beautiful. So what a perfect segue. How did you get to this realization?
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. So my journey, my dual journey, if you wish, my journey along both the head space and the heart space. The hallmarks of that were, as a kid, I just buried myself in stories of explorers, the Wild West, and Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett and Kit Carter. I just ate that stuff up. There was nothing better for me than being out in the woods, pretending I was one of those people, right? One of those guys, right? It was just so cool. It was so exciting. And I grew up with immigrant parents who were hard. My dad was the youngest of many and grew up and was drafted by the Germans. He was captured by the Allies. He had a challenging life coming to North America. My mom had her own challenging upbringing in life, which included some trauma, being in the Battle of Britain during the war and family sexual trauma in her family. And they weren't polished. They hadn't solved their shit. They hadn't got their stuff worked out. And so they parented, as we've all done. We've all caught ourselves being the parent they were that we didn't want. And so they hadn't done their work in getting that cleaned out. So they weren't always the best parents the way I wanted them to be. But they did their best, and I get that. And they tried to bring us up with values and church values. And then on a Sunday morning when I was 16, just before going to church, my parents called my younger sister and I into the living room and said, we're splitting up. And your younger sister's going to live with your mom. And Richard, we want you to decide today who you're going to live with. And so I was shocked, scared, lost, confused, didn't know what the hell to do. My dad had been very sick. He'd had a number of operations. He was in a lot of emotional and very much physical pain. I felt his pain, didn't know what to do about it. I'm a kid, right? I'm just figuring stuff out. And the decision was tough. And I thought I should live with him, right? I should live with him because he needs me. He's going to be alone otherwise. And I'm upstairs telling my mom that. I'm sitting at the kitchen table with just my mom and sister, and I'm telling her that. I've got a spoon in my hand. And as I'm telling her that I think I needed to live with Dad, I see her angry, judgmental face and scowling, looking at me. And as I'm telling her I think I need to live with Dad, I'm realizing, oh my God, I've done the wrong thing again, right? I'm being bad. I've done the wrong thing. And unbeknownst to myself, I just crumpled that spoon in my hand and said, of course, it makes sense. I should live with you. I shouldn't live with my dad. He needs me, but Caroline needs me. You want me. It's probably better for me. So I changed my decision, right? And so I went and lived with my mom and my younger sister. The family split apart. And a few months later, my dad committed suicide. So I spent a lot of time in that immediate moment, being 16 and really shocked and surprised and hurt and not knowing what to do with any of that, and had no hand holders around me to guide me through it. So it wasn't until later in life that I realized just how much that my trauma, this was my trauma. Everybody listening has their trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Bron and Bron have talked about theirs, right? Everybody has their trauma, and there's no more trauma or worse trauma. There's your trauma. Well, there's not. There are degrees of trauma, but you got your own. It's that unique thing about being a human being. Like, we're just ants on this planet. We're just ants, right? And there may be other planets with other ants, and this makes us feel really small. But we're the ant we are. We're the person we are. We can only be what we are. And so my trauma was my trauma, and I hadn't dealt with it till later. And so my discovery was that I'm really screwed. I was fucked. When it came to making decisions, I was lost. I didn't trust myself to make a decision. What color shoes? I was like, I might change my mind. I might have to. And it was all about what other people wanted. And so I was in that kind of emotional, confused space for several years. Meanwhile, I'm moving ahead, and I'm studying at school, and I realized I need to be autonomous. So I needed a degree, and I seem to be good at psychology, and but the economy's not great. So what am I going to do? Well, so I got, I thought, well, I'll do this industrial psychology thing, and I went and did a master's degree in that, and that looks like it should lead somewhere, and it could be interesting. And I tried to force fit myself into Bell Canada or Telesat Canada or companies or a consulting firm, Touche Ross at the time, now Deloitte's, and I didn't fit. It didn't fit. I'd made decisions over and over again. I didn't quite like them, and then my wife came home. I got married en route, and my wife came home one evening and said, I was thinking of something different for us to do we talked about something different to do, and there's this outward bound thing you can, and so long and short was she and I went on this outward bound trip together, and I came back from that and sat in my office overlooking the Chaudière Falls. I was in the towers in Hull, and I was looking at the Ottawa River going, I want to be out there. I know in my soul, right? My soul wants to be out there, right? So I contacted the executive director at Outward Bound and said, look, here's my background. I've got this degree, and I do this, and but I think I could add. And I know you do corporate programs. I know you run. And I went, oh, that's exciting. So I just started to feel this excitement and energy around what I could be good at, right? And finally, I had a boss at Bell Canada who in my performance review said, yeah, you're not really a company guy, are you? Like, and you're not very good at this kind of statistical stuff you're supposed to do, are you? And I went, yeah, no. And because and he said, but there's something coming up, and these executives need some facilitation. I don't know, maybe we should try that, because you don't seem to be doing other stuff very well. And I went, no, you're right, I'm not. And so that's okay, we'll try that. And I went and did this facilitating. It was just like, yeah, this is what I do. I happen to be really good at this. I like doing this. I'm good at this. And over time, I ended up blending my learning from Outward Bound and this facilitation, and then I moved out into my own consulting. And en route, I met these wonderful guys, each of Rod and Bron, who also were having and had their discoveries about where they fit and didn't fit, and about the importance of following your calling. And Bron was just so illuminating about what you really need in life. Financially, is not that much. I remember being on the train with him coming out of Serbia, and Bron saying to me, it was a shit story. Again, Ron, it wasn't me going to him with a bunch of shit going, what do I do with all this shit? It was him saying, at the end of your life, all you want is a bedpan. I went, oh, you mean I don't have to save up $2 million? No, you just want a bedpan. I said, shit, those are like $2 at Walmart, right? So I was like, but he was just clear. I'm being a bit facetious, but he was clarifying about what really matters in life, right? Because we also had the heart conversations of what really matters. And the same type of thing happened with Rod in the area of marketing. This wonderful colleague of his that we still stay in touch with and participates in our pub gatherings, Don Lachance, overheard Susan and I talking about our business at one meeting, and he just leaned over and said, "You guys sound really interesting. We'd love to talk to you." So I got to meet Rod and Bron that way, and what I just got, Rod and Don that way, and what Rod took me down the pathway of was this process of customer value mapping, which is finding out what your customers think about who you are, and brand yourself congruent with your heart and what you care about, and what matters to your values, your spirit, the essence of you, and hear what other people say about you and blend that together into images and words that depict the essence of yourself. And he just did it so magically. It was just like, whoa, like there's a finance language I don't understand. He can walk me there. And here's Rod with this like branding. And just like, it was just so delightful to, and you know what? And this was the unique part, feeling safe, that I could be safe in trusting these men with decisions about my business and my heart. And so I've turned my work and my work with these guys into supporting others who are struggling with their work and their heart and blending the two together. So we've developed some models. We've got these pub gatherings we run once a week. We also offer coaching to individuals who are looking for support in their work and their heart. And we are also working at developing some content, some written materials. But you know, we're getting there at our pace with our hair color in mind as we do it. And that's my journey, my commitment to myself. You asked us this great question ahead of time. Like, what are the 3 things we're proud of? And I took that away and I went, you know what I'm proud of? I'm proud of learning from my trauma, and I'm proud of learning how to make better decisions. I'm proud of facilitating better decisions being made in critical areas, and I'm proud of doing that. And I'm proud of, even though I'm still learning how to do it, that I make mistakes and I still struggle and bump my toe all the time, that I keep getting off the mat and trying again. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of being a man who can cry and be articulate at the same time, because that's what we all are. We're all these heartfelt beings with wounds and concerns and fears and doubts. And we can have our language. We can have our muscle. We've got muscle. We've got spines. We've got words. And we, as men, benefit from learning how to have them integrated. We can be vulnerable and strong. Vulnerability is strength when it's not hidden away shamefully.
Yeah, I wanted to mention Rick mentioning about banging his toe. You got to take a look at Rick's toe.
Yeah, the toes.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So okay, but that's an important thing for guys. Like, we get so identified with our bodies, right?
Yeah.
And our bodies undergo trauma. So I've got deformed feet. Like my toes go east, west, north, and south. They're really deformed. I've run a couple of marathons. I've had prostate cancer. I've had my prostate removed. I can't have an erection anymore. I've got lung restrictions. I've got asthma. Lots of things I can't do. I ride a bike for an hour or 2 every day. I've got tinnitus, and I got 2 new hips. But I get off the mat, right? You get off the mat.
Yeah.
Right? We have to get off the mat.
Fucking right.
And we need our brothers to tell us to get off the fucking mat and hold us if we need it and tell us to get off the mat, right? With love and support. And that's what I get from these 2 guys. And that's what we want to bring to others. Because finding our true potential, finding solutions to reach our full potential requires us to have that strength of heart, as well as the diligence of mind in these different business skill areas. Being an effective father or partner requires us to be able to live and dance and play and work in these different areas of ourselves as men. And we struggle when we're bifurcated, when we're split apart, when we're separated from ourselves, separating from business partners, wives. That's this stuff happens in life. Separating from ourselves, that's the trauma we do to ourselves when we allow ourselves to stay separated. We need congruence. We need support. We need synergy inside.
Yeah. And I would say that I think that the relationship that we're talking about is authentic. Like, when I'm with Rick and Rod, I feel this, I can be my authentic self. I don't need to pretend I'm somebody else, or they know the wounds, they know the scrapes and all of the different challenges. So how can we be our authentic selves on a day-to-day basis and be proud of that? Be and just know that it's okay. So when I'm with them, whether we're at a pub or we're just walking down the street or whatever, I can be my authentic self. And there's lots of times where, is it risk taking, or is it just, it's okay. I'm not afraid of what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do, whatever. And yet there's so many times where we've been in pubs where we've been in tears, but we're okay with that. We're okay with just being emotional. We're okay with just living that out and being real with each other. And ultimately, that's just been such a blessing for me. That has been absolutely wonderful. But the thing about Rick that I truly love about him that he wouldn't say, but I mean, yeah, he's a risk taker. I envy his ability to say, what the fuck? Hey, we're going to do this. So, just making dramatic adjustments in the course of his life and taking on new adventures. He's such an adventuresome guy that it gets contagious, and you just want to hang on. Hey, can I have part of that? Can I have part of that energy? So it's he just it's a wonderful thing that he brings to the table like that, and he gets you thinking. That's the other great thing. He gets you thinking a different way, which is brings out the best in you.
Rod?
Rod, that
And I yes, yeah. The great thing about Rick is, whenever he calls and says, "Okay, we need to talk about this," I know I'm in for a ride. And it used to scare me a little bit.
yeah.
But now I'm thrilled by it. I'm absolutely thrilled. Rick's going on a ride, and he asked me to come along.
Yeah.
And I just love it because you never know where it's going to go. You just don't know, Mel. And it's a wonderful dance. It's like being in the ring with somebody, right? And
Yep.
the person on the other end has it out for you, but you have a wonderful dance. You enjoy yourself, hopefully, and you find a new way of seeing things. So yeah, it's pretty special. Pretty special. Yeah.
That's amazing, guys. I have to say, I mean, Rick, you're such an eloquent guy. You really are and really full of heart. I really resonate with that because I'm a hopeless romantic, and I feel like, when I think about my life and I'm listening to you guys, I'm going to be 47 this year, and my life took a huge turn when COVID hit because the MMA industry was absolutely decimated. And I had to do some real digging deep, if you will. And I decided that I was going to fulfill a dream of mine and provide people a little bit more than a little bit of IQ in Muay Thai. But I was going to take my years with this esoteric school and the work that I had done, this internal work, and become a coach and get a group of men together. And that's what I've done. And there's so much, Rick, that I could unpack with what you said. I think the first one was this idea that in the world of metaphysics, we say that if that hell is not a place with fire and brimstone and loot and the devil. What hell is moving further away from what your soul desires.
Mm.
And I really appreciate that, and that very much resonates with me. And I think that what's beautiful about what you said is you've touched on so many things. The idea of male energy and what's changing about it. What's changing about the male energy. living in if you were living in the 1950s, male energy had a different feel to it. And now all of a sudden we're in 2022, and I think that the reason why there has to be more support for men is because the male energy is changing, the roles are changing, and most men feel a little bit lost as to what happened. Hold on, I thought we were the breadwinners. I thought we were the guys that had to not be emotional and just deal with the shit and be strong and flex our brawn. And what's interesting is that what's most remarkable about you three men, I studied this for 5 years, paid tens of thousands of dollars to go and get this education, and here you three men are talking about male energy at your age. And I mean that with all due respect, because most men your age, I have a brother your age, he doesn't talk about this male energy from this perspective. And watching you guys go together is unbelievable. I'm jumping out of my seat with energy and with love to say more fucking men need to see this, because it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to cry.
Yep.
Yep.
And I just want to clarify something, because you've said a few times about the three of us and our age. They're a lot older than I am. I make that really clear.
Yes, exactly. I'm the oldest.
And the reason that's really important is that demonstrates just how much ahead of their time they were and are, right? So I was proud of myself that I was a stay-at-home dad. Like I chose to stay home with our firstborn for 2.5 years. That was unheard of back then. And I felt proud of myself as a guy who was, ahead of the curve in terms of, integrating different parts of myself. These guys are so much older than me. and the big and was Rod overall loves the ampersand, right? And they are ahead of their time in their heart space.
Yeah.
They were beacons for me, right? They're like my older brothers, right? That were there to hold my hand and go, it's okay to be this. You don't have to feel like an oddball, Rick, right? So Mel, you use the term, you're a hopeless romantic. Please change that. You're a hopeful romantic, right? To have hope, right? Romance is hope. Romance is love. It's passion. It's energy. Be hopeful about it. Be purposeful about it. Put your head and heart together. That's what these two guys do. That's what draws me to them, right? Yep. In spite of their ineptitude at their ages.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, there's so much. There really is, guys. Between the three of you, I knew I was going to have trouble. There's this energy of the mediums would say I'm channeling all of this stuff right now, and I don't know. It doesn't come out quick enough. But I do want to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing now, and a little bit about True North Navigators and talking, because I'll tell you something, guys. The heart part I'm not worried about, because I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm a heart-centric guy off the scale. And I know that because my heart's been hurt more time than I can count. But that's if you want to, somebody said this the other day, Josh, maybe you can help remember me, but I was doing my vision board mastermind, gentlemen, and this woman said something to the effect of, when you have the ability to feel things so deep, having it hurt is just part of the opportunity cost of feeling things so deep. And she didn't use that word, but maybe Josh will remember, but it was so true. And it was about how I feel. My thing to you guys is this. You guys have this heart center piece down. You've got the business part of it. Each of you, that three-legged stool of each of you having one piece of the stool and providing your talents and your skills to be able to help. That's the part that I need, because I got the heart part down. I just want to. I'm ready to build a legacy so that I can.
Yeah, you've got the enthusiasm, you got the energy, you got the excitement, you got the passion. You're looking for some structure to get the ship going and
Yes.
launch your head, your brain, your actions, and make the difference in the world you want to. And you're looking for some support in the structural pieces of the pragmatic,
Yeah.
maybe financial, it might be brand communication, it may
That's
be
right.
organizational or how you lead it or finding clients or the location for a store, whatever it is. But
Yep.
it's the head part you're looking to build those components together, and that's where what we've designed in our business creates space for both heart and head. So the models you've heard us talk about in the pub gatherings are the ones that we deeply dive into in our coaching. When we talk about map room coaching, that's what we're doing when we go one-on-one with a person, where we go deep into, so what are you trying to do? Solving the problems, to find solutions to build the business or the life that you want. And so that, and then the content the book we're writing is about the workbook, the tools to help folks do that. So you can talk to us at any time, and anybody can, and we can support you on the next step on your journey, whether it's heart space or head space or synergies thereof. Because we're all unique. There's no fixed formula. There's no canned package you can buy that will help you on your unique journey. But there are tips and tools. So what we're trying to do is provide our responsive presence to show up and let. One of the most amazing pieces of feedback I received as a coach from a client that I know is applicable for Rod and Bron, I sense with you too, Mel, is that the appreciation for and acceptance of and working with whoever shows up and how they show up and what they show up with. And you do that with us on this. That's what you're doing with us on this show. You're waiting to see what we show up with and what we bring to the table and what our messages are. And then you work with that, right? And so that's what we do as well in the business, from the business perspective. In addition to that, we've got some very specific tools from our combined century of working, where we, financial tools, brand communication tools, leadership, organizational tools. We've got these tools, and we've created some of our own that are kind of more blending the best of the best into what we've referred to as our compass model, our True North Navigators compass model, and our 3R mapping process. So they're words that define a process and tools that we can use that make it clearer for people what to do next. So we welcome curiosities because we're built to, and we're designed, and we're co-created to help find solutions. And I also want to be clear. Like, I think it's easy on these types of communication platforms and these types of shows to come across, and I hear myself, I can come across glib and unarticulate and funny and informative. I struggle every day with stuff. I fall to the mat every day, right? And every day I have to pick myself off in some fashion, right? And so what we offer at True North Navigators is an opportunity to come on in and tell us about the journey you're on, and what you're moving towards, and what it's like, what are you falling on, and what are your historical issues, the challenges, and let us know. So and trust that our gentle, intuitive, purposeful support.
I just wanted to add, you guys are probably seeing this three-legged stool with a 3 on it, right? And so I just want to emphasize that's our pub mark. So it's a 3-legged stool pub. And the whole concept of a 3-legged stool is on ground that is not even, and it has a bend to it. The stool that's going to work has a lot to do. There's Rick with his magnifying glass again. Anyways, I'm looking in the wrong spot. So I'm trying to figure. Okay. So, anyways, the 3-legged stool fits on, and you're able to sit on it and be balanced within whatever the situation is, and that's the concept. We apply the concept of the 3 legs, which has leadership as one leg, financial management issues and dynamics around finance as the other, and the other was brand communications. Those are the 3 legs that we believe in regards to an entrepreneur's needs to be successful is applying that in an uneven kind of world. So I just wanted to reemphasize that we do have this pub that we gather every week to have some great conversation and chat around that. So yeah.
Really great. I think that what I want to emphasize, at least to the audience, is about, you know, this collective of again, three energies coming together, and the kind of work you're doing. Could you guys, you know, take us through what it would be like to do some coaching, or what are some of the things that you offer when people come to you? If I was going to come to you guys and say, you know, I really need your help with some structure, guys, you know, where do we start? What would you go through?
Well, I think at the simplest levels. I'll just a very quick overview, and then I do want to let these guys add to it because they've got so much richness to add here. It's very simple. It's not easy. The 3R mapping process that we've created is essentially a coaching model. It's an organizational intervention model. It's a model for growth and change in relationships of all sorts. And there are three distinct phases. So if you come to me, Mel, or anyone comes to us and says, I'm struggling with X, I need some help with X. And I would say, well, come on in, pull up a stool, have a seat. And if it's in the pub, there's some other people there. If it's one-on-one coaching, it's just you. And it's, so tell me about it. So the first step, the first R is review. Take stock. Tell me what's going on. What are the issues? What are the challenges? What are you trying to get to? To tell me about you. It's a taking stock. And we listen with our heads and our hearts around, where's the person integrated? Where are they fractured? What are they talking? We're just trying to absorb the person and what they're telling us. We're reviewing with them. And as we're doing that, we're hearing what they're telling us, and we're hearing who they are as they tell us. So that's the first step. It's taking stock, right? The next step is, okay, what are the possibilities? The first question is, what is? And so the first hope we have with anybody who comes to us is, how clearly are they seeing reality? How honestly are they seeing reality, right? And where are they distorting things and avoiding stuff, right? And so what help might they need with that? The next question is, what could be? And what could be has two very distinct domains. It has this up in the clouds potential. What's the possibility? The old SWOT analysis, remember that? Strengths and weaknesses, that's back in review. Opportunities and threats, that's where the second R, reflect, comes in. And what these guys are masterful at is asking amazing questions. Tell me about this. What would you hope to? Where would you expect? What might you do if you could? If you had all this, what would you do then, right? And so there's up in the cloud potential, but there's also the risks. If you're on a journey, where's the dragons, right? Where's the shoals? Where's the pirates? What are the dangers out there? What are the things you may not be seeing that, so it's taking a look at the covert. And the covert includes these buried traumas and challenges at the psychological level, as well as the competitor out there, or the COVID restrictions, or whatever. All these things are in that area of potential, what could be risks. So the deep dive on reflection is around questions to explore what could be. And the really interesting curve out, it's a curvilinear product. The curve out is into a space of what could be moving forward. And from my background, with my trauma at 16, it's what could be. It's like, oh, maybe I could live with mom and dad, or maybe my business could be that and that, or maybe I shouldn't do. It's like, but getting these crystallizations, these new clarities, so that when I get to the third R, which is resolve, I'm committed. I know. I'm clear on my path. I've got an action. I am ready to launch. I'm taking my great big romantic heart, Mel, and I've got a business plan. I've got goals, plans, structures under one arm, and I got my big heart right here, and I'm ready to launch. And because I have resolve, 3 R's. So that's what coaching does. And sometimes it happens in one session. Sometimes it takes a little longer. Sometimes we have to Bron, elaborate. What did I miss?
Yeah, no, I think you've outlined it pretty well there. And on the, just above the three-legged stool, you'll see the compass. And then, so this 3R model that Rick just talked about, we overlay that with this compass model that we have, which is the north, south, east, west. And so we lay that over top of that. So this, while you're going through this review, reflect, resolve part, three, tough to say those three R's, then we look at, hey, really we try to map out what is your true north, what is that vision, how are you guided by your spirit, and that is really a key component. And then what values, which is that east function, what values do you bring to the table that are going to guide that direction? And then on the west, it's the methodology. So these two key things that we bring to the table, these tools and processes, that's how we're going to get you that right alignment, because it's the key is to have the right alignment. But I'll stop there.
Awesome. Rod, anything that you could add to that?
Yeah, just in my area of the stool, which has to do with branding, a lot of people are mistaken what branding is. Is you look at a logo and colors and the way things look and all that stuff. Well, that's the surface. You mentioned the important thing about the depth, Mel. And a true brand is the depth that you go to in regards to who you are and what you're all about. If you can bring that out visually in a way that's effective, that's what good, solid branding is all about. So, it's much like any challenge in life. A brand is who you are, and you've got to be able to articulate the depth of what you are about in regards to the visual aspect to it. So I just add that.
Wow. Sounds so wonderful. I have to say, I mean, it really does, like each piece of the stool, complements each other. And then at the top of the stool is the part where you sit, and all of these pillars holding up this wonderful thing that we can sit on and maybe relax and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Wow. I mean, first of all, guys, I want you to know that we're almost at 90 minutes, if you want to believe it.
Wow.
And I can't believe that it's 90 minutes. I really could stay and chat with you, chat with all three of you, but I do respect you and your time. If there's any questions from the audience, of course, now's the time to do it. Josh, I don't know if it was Charlene that said that line, but I thought it was Heather. But anyway, either way, it was a great line. Gentlemen, where can people go to find you? Is there like a website?
Come on into our pub Thursday
Come into the
afternoons.
pub, yeah.
Rod, how else can they get a hold of us?
Well, yeah, we do the pub sessions by invitation only. So if you want to be invited to the pub, we'd gladly have you there. But we'd probably ask you to direct it to Mel,
Yep.
and he will send out an invitation to you. I do believe Josh has
Thank you, Josh.
Josh has stirred the pot again in regards to possibly looking at how we go about sending out our invitations, and we want to talk to him a bit about that. But yeah, so that's the way we do it. And there is our True North Navigators.ca is where you want to go. Yeah,
That's awesome. Gentlemen, I'm a little short on words, partly because I feel a true sense of humbleness to be in all three of your presence. I'd like to believe that for my age, I've lived a lot of life with lots of adventures. Rick, I'm an adventure guy like you. I like adventures. You have to be, and Bron, I share a little bit of your couple of screws loose as a hockey goalie. I'm a Muay Thai fighter. If you're going to go to Thailand and fight in their sport, you got to have a couple of screws loose. And with Rod, I feel very connected to you. I think a lot of it is about the martial arts, but I love that each and every one of you shared in some sort of some sort of trauma that happened. And what really I love about it is the resolve, and how you've taken this and made it something powerful. I love your description, Rick, about just getting up off the mat. I mean, Rocky Balboa, I think, has a great line. Not as hard, not how hard you get hit, but how, and get fall, but how many times you get up and keep moving forward. And so that's very true. So I really am grateful to all of you. I really love what you guys do, and you may be getting a phone call from me, my friends, because I could certainly use some help. Because I believe I have lots to offer. I just want to make sure that I have the structure in which to get it in a way to get in front of the right ears. There's an old axiom that says when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I want to make sure that I'm getting that message out so that the student that is ready and is ready to take the next steps in their journey in developing clarity, balance, and awareness in their life, that they will have somebody, and hopefully I will be that guy that resonates with them. So thank you.
So let me interrupt, and just before you wrap up,
Yes.
so thank you for inviting Bron
Thank you.
and I to share here. It's been it's felt like a wonderful energy build to be able to do this with these two guys, and Mel, you're doing something just magical here, just inviting people to bring in their thoughts and offer forward, and just the way you listen and integrate, and you start with energy, and you invite energy and passion and thoughtfulness. So you're doing the teacher role now, right? And the wisest teachers are the ones who create the experience for the student to learn, not necessarily the teacher who stands at the front, and right, that's the old model, right? This is what you're doing here, is creating a learning crucible, right? It's a learning crucible. We can go in there, we can learn, we can support that learning. And past traumas are the crucible where we either get fried to a crisp and never recover, or we get forged into something stronger.
And
We get to make that choice.
I just also wanted to give a shout out to Remy Gok for introducing me to you, Mel.
Yes.
Thank you, Remy.
And thank him so very much. He did set this up so that we had that connect, and I've got to say how grateful I am to the bastard that he is.
and then and then finally,
he's a great guy. But once again, there's a man that I just dearly love. He was one of my daughter's best friend's boyfriend. And I got to tell you, he came into my house and I wanted to throw him out right away.
Yes. Did he tell you a bad joke too? Because he's full of bad jokes.
Oh, he is. But what a great guy. Yeah,
absolutely. Rick, sorry, what were you going to say?
And in the background, I just also want to thanks and kudos to the soggy French fry guy who goes by the name of Josh.
Yes.
And for his support in the technology here, and participating with us at the pub yesterday. So the folks behind the scene help the scene happen. Can't do it without you. So Josh, I know you're hiding back there somewhere. So thank you.
He did write, gentlemen, thank you for sharing respective journeys and your beautiful relationship with one another with us.
Okay.
I wanted to add, Rick, just before I go, soggy French fries. I am duly offended. Rick, I just want to close on this note, and I think it's very powerful for everyone to hear this, and that is, there was a part in the Empower Thyself program that I took with this school that talked a lot about the difference between individuality and personality. And the individuality is the part that comes from the Holy Spirit, and that the personality was something that we create and that came from the negative ego to be accepted or to fit in, but that each one of us have this individuality that comes from spirit. And how the three of you are really helping in people recognize the individuality within them. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm deeply honored to have all of you. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to give my final thought, as I always do. I will put you in the green room again for a short moment as we raid, which means that we're going to take our guest to another channel. Josh, let us know where you're going to be raiding us to. Gentlemen, I will see you in just a minute or two.
Thank you, Mel.
Cheers. I got a little teary-eyed today. It's the first time that I got a little teary-eyed outside of my own show where I was speaking with Josh in my interview, which proves to me one thing, that the energy that was here today was one of true love and true compassion. And I'm grateful to be a witness. Rick is absolutely right when he spoke about what I'm trying to do with the space and what I'm trying to do in my business. And I would add that a famous saying that I use many times, that a master is not recognized by what he or she knows, but rather by how many masters he or she creates. And I really want that, and it's evident to me that these three fine gentlemen are doing exactly that in their work, creating many masters. So thank you to them for all that they do. Next week on the Coffee and Biscotti Show, we travel to Calgary, Alberta, as we speak to a dear friend of mine who was at one point involved in the sanctioning body for Muay Thai here in Canada. He's a really fantastic human being. His name is Robin Finley. So we will be back here with Robin Finley as we virtually go to Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So join us next week, 12 o'clock EST, for another episode of the Coffee and Biscotti Show. Today we are off to see the DJ with the most impressive mohawk on Twitch, and one of the biggest hearts, DJ Chris Craze, who I already follow. He's awesome. Josh, take us away, my friend. From all of us here at the Coffee and Biscotti Show, thank you so much for joining us. To Sandra Mio, who's always with us, thank you, love. You're in my heart, girl. Thank you so much for joining us. And to all of you, a happy Friday and a lovely weekend from my heart to yours. Much love. Peace.